Welcome, everybody, to the Beards and Bible Podcast. My name is Josh. I'm joined this time by my good buddy Gabe. Gabe, it is so good to see your face.
Yeah, thank you. It's good to see yours. It feels like it's been a while. You did an episode without me, and
hello, my friend, we meet again. It's been a while. Where should we begin?
And you left the country and went to El Salvador.
Es verdad. It's true. I went to El Salvador. Yes. How did you listen to the podcast I did just by myself? You can be honest.
I did.
If you didn't, that's fine.
Yeah.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How'd I do?
Yeah. I thought it went well. It seems like a long time ago that you did it, but yeah.
It was 2 weeks ago. Lots happened.
So. Yeah. A lot has happened. It's kind of a theme of the past couple of years, but the past 5 years.
I think so.
Is that?
Yeah.
Like every week
like
there's like
2 years of news in 2 weeks time. So that's great. How's your life been? How's your family? How's your ministry? How's your kids?
Everybody's good. Super busy, but I hate saying that because people say that I'm busy.
I know.
And they don't want to talk to me. They don't want to be my friend because they think I'm too busy. Yeah, I'm like, sometimes people are like, oh yeah, this and that. I'm like, why don't you tell me about that? Oh, you're just super busy. I'm like, oh man,
you're just so busy.
You're right, but I still wanted to know about that. But no, part of it's self-induced, just training for the marathon. So I'm running 40 miles a week at this point, just amping up for that. But
what race is this?
The Space Coast Marathon in Cocoa Beach.
You've done that before.
Yeah, this will be my 4th time doing that marathon, but
it's down in it's in November, right?
Yep, Cocoa Beach.
Okay.
You run along the Intercoastal Waterway. It's beautiful.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So we've been busy with that.
If I ever do another one, it would have to be it would have to be that kind of one. Because it's flat, right? There's no hills?
There's just a couple little bumps, basically just going over culverts. So, yeah, the one we did in Chattanooga was not easy, I would say. I mean, going over 7 bridges.
Yeah, that was brutal.
I just remember one of those was like a drawbridge that was like super wobbly and it was like swaying back and forth.
Oh, gosh.
And then this old lady, this old lady was like in front of me and I was running across the bridge. I'm probably the reason why she fell, but the bridge was swaying. And then she was taking that last step onto the concrete sidewalk off of the bridge, and her toe caught the lip of the cement and she just ate it, man. Like her face, she caught herself with her face on the concrete.
Was she a runner or just a?
Yeah, she was a runner.
Oh no, that's awful.
I felt bad. Yeah. So I was like,
"See ya." To stop, but no,
I did stop, and then she told me,
"Okay, good for you."
She's like, "Don't wait for me. I'm fine. Keep going." Yeah, that's what she said.
Man,
and she probably beat me still.
That's true. Because you waited for me the last 6 miles. So
yeah.
Well, that's cool, buddy. So you're probably in your biggest, you're about to start your taper down, but the largest training margin right now is where you're at right now?
Yeah, I think the next 3 or 4 weeks are going to be the biggest training load of running and just doing all that. Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, what about you guys? How's your life? How's your ministry? How's your family?
It's been good. I was in El Salvador last week. We work with a ministry down there called King's Castillo del Rey, and we took a team down there, and it was really, really, really good, man. It was awesome. We did a lot of kids ministry, a lot of evangelism, pouring into the team down there, and it was really good. Did you and I take Spanish classes together at Southeastern?
Not together. No, I'll spend you and Ryan.
Okay. So my Spanish is
un poquito.
Okay. un poco, yeah. But when you're in an environment like that, and by an environment like that, I mean a Spanish-speaking country where most people don't speak English, it kind of just forces you, sink or swim. And so that was kind of a, I don't know. It was really interesting and really cool, and it stretched me being immersed around Spanish speakers. So by the end of the week, I was thinking in Spanish and in English, which is a really weird thing.
That's cool.
So I came back home and I was thinking in Spanish and in English. So everything I would want to say in English, I would also have a thought in Spanish of what I was trying to say, and it's
so
weird.
When you drive by McDonald's, you're like, "Yo quiero."
Tengo hambre. Hamburguesa. Muy delicioso.
You're like, wait, why am I still thinking in Spanish?
Why is there a Univision football announcer in my head?
Yeah. You start yelling at your kids in Spanish. Vamos,
por favor.
Vamos a la iglesia.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. You weren't there with me. You wouldn't understand.
I'm sorry. You wouldn't understand. I was just saying, let's go to church. Please forgive me.
But that's cool though. Yeah, I've never been. Is that on the other side of the equator? Is El Salvador? This is going to make me sound really ignorant.
It's pretty darn close. You're not as far south. I think the equator runs through the top part of South America. I think. I don't know. Look on your map. It's a lot more warm down there, and the sun shines a lot brighter. That close to the equator, but I'm not sure you're quite.
Oh no, it's still pretty good. It's about halfway to the equator from.
Okay. Yeah. Good deal.
So could you see the Pacific and everything where you were, or were you close to the coast?
Yes, you could. We were real close to the coast. We didn't go to the beach. We did not go to La Playa. That's what the Spaniards call the beach. No, we were too busy serving Jesus. No, we did a lot of different ministry days, so we didn't really have time for that. But we did go to a really cool spot in the mountains of El Salvador. And there was a village on top of this mountain that you could only get through a truck, like a 4-wheel drive truck. And everybody on our ministry team got on the back of this flatbed truck. And for like 40 minutes, dude, we were going like up this mud slick of a road to get to the top of this mountain, to this church that we were doing a ministry program at. And it increased my prayer life a great deal.
Yeah, I bet. It just sounds like an average afternoon in Southern Alabama.
That's true.
No,
we went to the mud bowl last night, man.
We don't have mountains here.
No, that's true. Yeah. But here's what's crazy. We got to the top of the mountain, and this was like a taxi that they do. It runs from the village to the top of the mountain. And when we got to the top of the mountain, we got out of like the taxi and walked around, and the driver of the taxi was a 14-year-old girl.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah. Better driver than me.
So you put your hands, what you're saying is you put your hands on the life of a 14-year-old girl in this taxi. That's good.
Yeah, basically. Basically, yeah.
Jesus, take the wheel.
Jesus, toma. I don't know what wheel is in Spanish. So if you're listening, shout it out. Sing it out.
And then you've been posting some really inspiring stories on Facebook lately that are definitely not AI generated. That is really cool. It just kind of choked me up a little bit.
Man, here's my policy.
Yeah.
Anytime I see a fake AI story that someone passes off as real, I'm going to create a fake AI story and post it on my Facebook. That's my new policy. So if you want me to stop posting ridiculous stuff on Facebook about Abraham Lincoln and Hank Williams Jr. taking Waffle House to an orphanage, stop posting ridiculously false AI stories and thinking they're for real. So this is my form of protest. So
yeah, I mean, it just really speaks to our lack of discernment, you know. Some of these things I've seen shared, you know, we just really, really lack discernment in terms of like really analyzing and thinking critically about what we're about to click share on. And I'm guilty of it as well, you know.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, when I said that is true, it sounds like I was agreeing with you that you have no discernment in what you hear.
No, I didn't take it that way.
Okay, good.
It is true, though.
It is true, Gabe. You're just terrible at discernment. So
yeah, what we need to do is we need to stop.
Tell us.
We need to stop just engrossing ourselves in the online digital world and rather get involved with people's real everyday lives, face-to-face community and relationships with people in a real physical building.
Yes.
Or in a field. Doesn't matter. Building's just a building.
Doesn't matter.
But under a tree. But
yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
So not seeing community specifically Christian community, aka church, as a product to consume, but rather as a family to belong to.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good. Well, lucky for you, that's what we're talking about today. Did you know that? That's what we're talking about today?
No, I didn't. Yeah, that's really convenient.
Wow.
You did not send me show notes at 2:00 this afternoon.
Nope.
No, yesterday afternoon.
Everything's off the fly. So, yeah. So we're going to be talking about that. Consumer Christianity and how we spot it in ourselves. And maybe how we can change our mindset, because it does seem like this is a mindset that we see a lot. And really, Gabe, I think the reason that I really kind of had this on my heart is it seems to me that there's been some really encouraging trends that we've seen in church demographics. We've talked about the Gen Z revival and how that's been awesome and good to see. And while we have made some very surprising gains just here in the church in America over the past few years, especially in the younger generations, we still have like a lot of ground to make up for in terms of just overall health when it comes to how we relate and connect to church. And so there's some trends that I threw in the show notes that I just found very interesting. The average church attender attends 1.6 times per month, or roughly 2 out of every 5 weekends. Nearly 2 in 5 churchgoers report regularly attending multiple churches without really ever committing to one, which is really interesting. Only 21% of Christians who attend church consistently tithe 10% or more of their income to their local church. That's according to the Barna Group. 37 report giving irregularly, so just sort of giving whenever it's convenient or they're able to. And then 25% of church attenders say they never give anything at all. And then only about 34% of church attenders report regularly serving or volunteering within their local church. So, as we look at these stats, does that check out? Does that resonate? Has that been your just sniff test in terms of what you've seen?
In terms of our congregation, I don't see this low of numbers.
Okay.
Maybe because we have food after our services. I don't know, but no, I would like to think that we seem to be tracking higher on those numbers.
That's good.
But yeah, I think that's likely the case elsewhere. I'm not trying to sound pretentious or anything, but yeah, I think that's. I remember when I was just a lay person in a church, it was really easy to just say, "Let's skip church today and just go to the beach. It's going to be a beautiful day out." It's a very easy thing to do, especially when you've just been working all week and you need to get caught up on different house projects, or the weather is just right to go fishing, or whatever the case is. But yeah, totally.
Yeah, it just kind of seems like the mentality and the mindset that we have as Westerners. So we're specifically speaking to Americans because we're here in the U.S., but I think this is a problem not just in the U.S., it's a problem also in other Western contexts. But it seems like we see ourselves as consummate consumers, and that the entire world exists to give us a very selective and personalized consumer experience. Because every time I log on to YouTube, the algorithm gives me videos it thinks that I want to watch. And most of the time, those are videos I want to watch, right? Every time I get on Netflix, or every time I hop on Spotify or whatever, right? Anytime I go to a shopping mall or whatever, there's a very selective and personalized type of user experience that caters to me as the consumer every single day. And it just seems like perhaps that mindset and the mentality has sort of shifted into how we understand church and what church should be about. Is that fair? Do you think that dynamic is at work there?
Yeah. So what you're saying is like our really consumerist-driven world and culture, at least in the United States of America, has bled in and influenced how we go about doing church.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, totally agree.
And so I think that selective and personalized faith comes from us having highly selective and highly personalized user experiences in every other avenue of our life, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think we've said before, if you're waiting for the perfect church to come along, then you're going to be waiting for a very long time.
Sure.
I think there are some big absolutes that we need to leave our church over, but those need to be some big things,
right?
Especially, I would say, if your kids are plugged in, if your kids have friends, if there's some things that we don't need to get into particulars of those things, but I think there's some things that you would have to just kind of swallow your pride and say, like, hey, we disagree with the leadership of the church on this particular issue, but that's okay. It's not a big major thing.
Positive sentiment overload is what it's called in marriage. There's enough good things going that you can overlook the things that maybe you don't care so much for. But what's interesting about the trends is that it's not so much people leaving churches that they're committed to and then recommitting to other churches. One of the trends is the phenomenon of church hopping and church shopping. It's that people are attending multiple churches and not committing to any of them.
Interesting.
So one generational understanding of church is you get plugged into one, you serve, you give, you're in community, you're taking a Sunday school class, you're in a small group, whatever. And then when it's time for you, if you feel like the Lord leads you to go to another church, you commit to that new church that you are a part of, and you give and you serve and you're in community there, right? But there's kind of this new trend of people not really doing that, but just kind of not giving anywhere, not serving anywhere, not in community anywhere, but they're attending multiple places. I like their programming Wednesday night for my kids. I like their programming Sunday morning. I like it. And it's just a really strange way of understanding how church is supposed to operate.
So it's almost like a level of commitment on par with like what gym you would go work out at?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so a lot of that is like kind of a la carte beliefs. Like I like how this church talks about this one particular issue, but I also like how this church talks about this issue. And this church is really good on kids programming, and this church is really good on discipleship, but I really like this church and how they stand on Israel, or this church's stance on politics, or this church I like, And so it's like a piecemeal type thing. And really it's this idea of like, what is it that I can get out of it? Not how to understand the spiritual gifts that God's put in me and what I can put into it. And I think a lot of it comes from this understanding of my own personal walk with Jesus is more important than me doing this in community with other people. So I love Jesus, so I don't really need the church. And church is kind of this optional weekend programming that can enrich my personal relationship with Jesus, but it's really not all that important when it comes down to it. I can do without church because I've got Jesus and I've got some good podcasts and good YouTube pastors that I listen to.
Yeah. Well, I think too, if you look at the history of the Christian faith, let's take the believers in Ephesus, for instance. Like you wouldn't have had, like in my town right now, of just, I think we have maybe 100,000 people in Dothan, Alabama, probably more closer to 90, but we have pushing 250 churches.
Wow.
And you have the ability to hop around and do all these. But the ancient believers in Ephesus, there definitely wouldn't have been 250 churches that you could shop around at. And you kind of just had
house churches. That's it, right?
Yeah, you would just have to just slog through those disagreements and just you're committed or you're not.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this blessing and curse at the same time. It's like we've been so overly saturated with the message of the gospel and starting churches and just have like where we have, and at least in the southern United States, we have per capita more churches probably than anywhere else in the world. It's like,
right.
it's a blessing, obviously, but at the same time, it opens up this opportunity where we can just be like, well, I don't like the lead vocalist on the worship team as much as I like this one over here, and so super petty things, we can disavow that church and move on somewhere else.
Right. And we can keep our options open, right? Why would I commit to any church when there's 4 or 5 of them that I like pieces of it, all of them, right? What would you say are the top signs that maybe this is where somebody's at? Like they kind of have this mentality of a very selective, personalized, consumer-driven type faith.
I would say someone that consistently asks questions or is calling or texting with questions, but they're usually just kind of like exhibiting almost like parasitic behavior in the sense that like, hey, I need you to answer all my deepest questions, but then never turn around and give back and serve. I would say that's kind of a red flag.
Right.
Yeah, someone who pops in once every other month and then you don't see them again for a long time.
Right.
Things like that. Pretty good signs that they're not really, and that's fine. I mean, whatever. You come once every other month, but like just, your family would want you to really sink down some roots, I think, and be better off for it. What about you? What do you see?
Well, I would think somebody who's very vocal about their preferences.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they aren't like theological convictions or, ecclesiological convictions. Ecclesiological is how we view church. They're preferences, right? And they're very, very, very vocal about their preferences. And they let everybody know, even the church leaders know their preferences. Well, I like how you guys do this, but I don't really like how you do that. I think that's a sign of somebody who's spiritually immature. They don't quite understand the difference between what are doctrinal important issues that we might need to change our churches over and what would be like just silly, petty preferences that at the end of the day don't have much to do with whether or not you can grow in Christ.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean? If you think that, well, it's kind of too dark in the sanctuary. I like more stained glass in my church. Okay, well, gosh, I mean, is that really going to have that big of an impact on you being discipled and growing in your faith?
Yeah. I would say someone who comes to your church and is a little bit too comfortable with handing out criticism of their prior church or slandering their prior church and what they did wrong there without you asking for that. I think that's definitely a red flag.
I always, always, always mark that in my mind when the first time I meet somebody, they come to me with a story about how horrible their other church was.
Yeah.
And how we're just the greatest church in the world because we can't believe we found your church, pastor, but our other church, man, they were just like, I always mark that in my mind because I just go, it's not going to take much before I move to that list.
Oh, yeah.
And then you're going to another pastor and you're telling them about how terrible I was, right? Why do you think this approach is appealing? And I think what parts of our society kind of just make it worse?
I think it's appealing because we're carnal, we're fleshly, and we want to avoid the awkwardness of having to sort through potential conflicts with people or minor theological differences with the church's stance on something. So it's really appealing to us. It's really clean. It's really neat and easy to just say, hey, look, I'm not going to get super engaged here. You may or may not see me again. So it's just
like a fear of getting too deep in the weeds with somebody relationally?
Possibly. Or actually, maybe someone might come along and say, I need to help, with this particular thing here and actually serve and give back. That's a fear that some people have. And what parts of our society make it worse? I would say, gosh, like every part of our society makes it worse. Like every part of every
the
almost
algorithm, digital, online stuff. Yeah.
Just the commercialism that we're steeped in.
Yeah. Well, and I was super happy during COVID to see so many churches start live streaming their services in one sense.
Mm-hmm.
But in another sense, it made me concerned because now people could kind of sit in the back row of a church and consume a service without ever having to step foot in that church and volunteer or serve. And and I think one of the things it did is it started leading people to start like comparing whatever church they were fellowshipping in with whatever this church on the other side of the country was doing. And it almost led to a lot of people thinking, man, the grass is so green over there. Gosh, that church, if I could only get to that church in Arizona, if I could only get to that church in California, if I could only get to that church, over here, over there, then I'd find the perfect church. And it's like, no, I mean, there's not ever a perfect church. But I think the online space definitely didn't help with that. Gabe, I think you bumped your microphone again, and it says that you're picking up your mic through your computer. So
okay, I'm going to mute myself while you keep talking, and I'm going to fix this. I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, no, you're good. So, ladies and gentlemen, Gabe is fumbling around. There's a bucket of water that just fell on his head, and he just slipped on a banana peel, and that's why he up. And is he back? Let's see, is he back? Maybe he's back. Who knows? Nope, no microphone. Can't hear you, buddy. Well, I'm going to keep talking about important things while Gabe's working on his microphone. So, I think that problem of live streaming and services and all that stuff gave an opportunity for churches to get their content out there. But I think because there's so much content out there for church, it's caused people to compare their church with other churches. But it's not an accurate comparison because they've never actually been a part of that church. So it seems really appealing and it seems perfect. But the truth is they've never actually been in it. So I think that's part of why it makes it worse. So
okay. Well, it's telling me I can't switch microphones while I'm recording, so we're going to take my condenser mic and just set it over here.
I'll just fix it in post. How's that?
Okay. Yeah. So you're going to hear me through my my MacBook microphone. Am I coming through loud enough?
Yeah, you're fine. You're fine.
Okay.
You just sound like you're in a tin can.
Yeah.
So here am I sitting in a tin can. That's David Bowie, by the way, in case you're wondering. Yeah. So another aspect of consumer Christianity, beyond just the obvious, the selective, personalized faith, is a low commitment and minimal engagement mentality of just a Christian that almost has a aversion to any church fellowship that would encourage involvement or encourage consistent attendance. It's almost like they're allergic to it. They're allergic to any church fellowship that would require or ask or request that its members would serve. And then there's just sort of this like a disloyalty to the people that they're doing life with, that they would in a heartbeat be willing to just cut ties, cut their losses, get out and go somewhere else. Yeah. And I think that's something that you just sort of see if we look at the numbers honestly. That's a problem for us as American Christians.
Mm-hmm.
And my question is beyond just the spiritual answer or carnal. Like, why do you think so many Christians are just content with that way to do church?
I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember, like, when I was kind of in that mode, it's probably just a variety of reasons, but one of the things I think people don't want to be challenged to grow in their faith or be like truly biblically discipled. And partly church leaders are to blame for that. That's not something that a lot of churches can even do or offer on a some churches running the several thousands of people. And so sometimes it's hard to like really hold people's feet to the fire in terms of like discipleship or accountability in their faith.
Yeah.
Could be reason.
Do you think it's that somebody has a vision for their life that like the good life as a Christian is a life where you just have a little bit of Jesus when it's convenient, but the good life is the life where you have the freedom to kind of
Yeah.
Do whatever the heck you want, and then, if there's time, then okay, sprinkle some Jesus in. That's the good life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I think
And
absolutely.
and
Like when you get kind
yeah,
of like when you're having a hard week and you're like, man, I just need to go to church this week and like get pepped up and like get
right.
that motivational speech, that I'm looking forward to get me through the following week. Yeah, I think so. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think that's probably more on church leaders and other Christians to help people see that the life of discipleship is one where the good life is not just going to the lake and watching football every single weekend. And then if you have a little bit of time, maybe just a little bit of Jesus, but really it belongs to me and my time. Maybe helping them see that the good life is actually a life filled with service to the Lord and giving our life away to other people. Like, how do we do that without sounding like we're cult leaders?
I know.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I would say you can't really have a healthy church if everybody has that mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And you can't really have healthy disciples if someone has that mindset. Is it possible for someone to grow as a disciple without consistent church involvement? Is that possible?
It depends on where you start, I think, as a disciple. If you know
Right.
absolutely nothing about that, yeah, you can surely sit in your living room and read your Bible through if you've never opened the pages of the Bible. But I don't think you can grow. I'll answer it this way: you can't grow to your fullest potential and extent as a disciple without consistent involvement in some kind of collective gathering of believers on a regular basis.
Right. Is that just because, like, if it's just you and the Bible and you praying to Jesus, that's one thing, but you're never having to navigate like relational complexities and, people looking into your life and saying, hey, you're actually not walking in a godly way with this, or you're being immature with this, or you're being ungodly in this area.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's hard to get along with people, isn't
it? Yeah, it is. And I think what happens sometimes at churches is you find like your 5, 6, 10 people at the most that you really can connect with and relate to and have a good time with. You become friends with them. But to open up and to find someone that is newer to the church and to try to like absorb them in, it's hard. I think we get cliquey, we get kind of tribal, and especially if that person seems to be like kind of like have some baggage, you don't want to bring them into your little circle of friends, and yeah, but that's what we're called to do, and I'm admitting that it's difficult for me to do because I'm like, man, I've got it good with just my little handful of friends here, and
Sure.
You seem like you're going to be a lot of work emotionally, but I think that the gospel calls us to not only allow that person in, but to challenge them to live a holy life through the gospel, and
yeah,
that's easier said than done.
Well, here's an interesting question, and we got to navigate this carefully because we're both pastors, and I'm sure as a pastor, you've had this experience of someone that was in your church felt the leading or the prompting of the Holy Spirit, or maybe not. Maybe they just left for another reason, but they felt it right to leave your church and change churches. A, is that wrong? And B, how and when should someone do it?
No, it's not. It's not wrong if done for the right reasons. I think it is wrong if done for the wrong reasons. I would say it's like 2 John 1:10. If anyone comes to you and does not bring this teaching, do not receive him into your house or give him any greeting. I think there is this benchmark of like doctrine that if they are presenting teaching that is counter to the plain reading of Scripture and the essence of the gospel, then I don't think you should stick around. So when a teaching gets to the point where it is contradictory of the plain reading of the Bible, contradictory to the plain message of the gospel, if it adds or takes away in any way from the gospel, then I think those are grounds. And I would say when there is unrepentant moral corruption in the leadership, definitely worth leaving over. There's a list of reasons, and I would say you should probably put them like on a spectrum. But too often, like, we are leaving for things that are way down. I would say things like if there's rampant, persistent gossip, or it's just an extremely toxic place, maybe, it might be time to go. But if it's something like a doctrinal minor, or if it's the style of music or this or that, I think you're leaving for petty reasons.
Yeah.
And that is not healthy to do.
Here's what's tricky. Spiritually immature people or spiritually proud people don't understand the difference between what is just a preference or a doctrinal minor and what is a massive reason to leave a church, right? So spiritually immature people see their preference is a massive reason to leave. Spiritually proud people see a doctrinal minor as a reason to leave, right?
Yeah.
Because for a spiritually proud person, nothing is a doctrinal minor, everything's a doctrinal major. So,
and I think they jump at the opportunity to leave if they're spiritually proud, if they're
right.
Yeah.
And that's ultimately we can't judge somebody's heart, we can't judge somebody's motives. That's between them and the Lord. But I think the right way to do it, if you feel like the Lord's leading you, is for you to have a conversation with your pastor or with the leaders and let them know that you are and let them know why and leave on good terms, right?
Yeah.
But just not showing up one day. And that could be why so many people are avoiding commitment, because they're always leaving the back door open. So it'd be easier to leave when it's time for them to leave. Because if you've never actually had a real conversation with your pastor or with the elders, or you're not serving, you're not giving, you're not in community groups, then when it's time for you to leave, you don't know what conversation with anybody. You can just not show up. Right?
Yeah.
And maybe that's why we're seeing so many people have this low commitment and this minimum engagement,
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah, I like Ephesians 4:2. Bear with one another in love, eager to maintain the unity of the Spirit in the bond of peace. That is such a powerful verse, and speaks to this lack of willingness to be in the word community is so abused, but in a community with a group of people, but also this eagerness to like dip out as soon as things don't go the way you expected them to go.
Right.
And if Paul is saying, knock it off, bear with one another in love.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's a hard one. Bearing with somebody else.
Amen.
Yeah, so I think a third aspect of this consumer-driven Christianity is a focus on personal preferences, personal comforts, and personal happiness. So if someone has this mentality, or we have this within ourselves, then most of what we value in church is not going to be that the word is preached, that discipleship is happening, and that the community is being served, right? Not the marks of a biblical church. Most of what we're going to value is like the music style or the building. I like that building. That's comfortable, right? The preacher's personality, right? I like his jokes, or whatever pet programming or pet ministries that we happen to
like kids
offer.
Ministries and stuff.
Yeah, kids ministry, puppet ministry. There was a story, I can't share too much because I don't know who listens to this podcast or who doesn't specifically, but there was a ministry I heard of a woman who felt a call on her life to do the clown ministry at her church.
Nice. Yeah.
And her church was like, no, clowns are creepy. Nobody's getting ministered to by you as a clown. And so she got really upset and left and went to another church where she started a clown ministry.
Nice.
And then on her way to her new church, while she was dressed up like a clown, she stopped by her old church and busted into a Sunday school class dressed up as a clown, just to let them know, this is me fulfilling God's call in my life to be a clown, and you guys missed out on it.
Yeah. And she does sound like a clown. Like that's the cool thing about it. Like that's she's just like probably just a really good clown.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. So many people could have gotten saved because of that, but oh well.
Yeah.
Yeah. So when that becomes the thing that you're most looking for in a church, that's probably a sign that this is going on. Where your desire for preaching is more stylistic instead of content, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you want preaching that sounds like whatever preacher you podcast or watch on YouTube or whatever. You want it to be something that entertains you or speaks to whatever felt needs that you have. And then really when everything in church is basically based on individual fulfillment and it's not really focused on discipleship or helping you grow, it's just what needs do I have, what needs do my family have, and how is the church meeting those needs? And if the church isn't, then I'm going to take my ball and go home and go somewhere else that is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So here's what's tricky. Where's the line between making church welcoming and engaging and making it a consumer experience?
I think motivation is everything, honestly. Not like, I think a really good biblical church is going to be welcoming and engaging, but also a really good biblical church is going to push back in areas of sin in your life and make you feel uncomfortable in areas of sin in your life.
Right.
And then you have a decision to make, and that decision is up to you at that point. But I think motivation is everything. I think there are churches that say, let's do this fill in the blank so that we can draw people in. And then I think that's the wrong motivation. But then I think there are also churches that on the other end of the spectrum are like, hey, let's be really harsh in the way we teach this so that we, only keep the people that are like fit our mold.
So it's like a holy huddle. And the only reason there's not more of us is because we're so spiritual and nobody can cut it like we can.
Right.
Yeah.
I think motivation is everything.
Yeah. And that's always a tricky one because I remember leading a group of pastors one time. We were talking about making your church welcoming and engaging. And all these dudes were just hammering what they called the attractional model. It just like, oh, that's just about the attractional model. And then finally somebody piped up and said, well, wait a second. Do we want our churches to be unattractional? Like where somebody walks in and they're repulsed by what they see? Like,
right.
Shouldn't we want when somebody walks in the door looking for Jesus, them to be welcomed and then to be engaged? And so like the line between like, it's not all about whoever walking in the door, but in some ways it is that we want them to be there. We want to engage them. We want them to feel welcome. Right. So where it could get tricky is if we are maybe diluting or watering down parts of church so that we can make it more attractional.
Yeah.
Is that where the line is maybe?
Yeah. I think so. Compromising. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have a rampant, or at least we did, rodent problem, like rat problem in our building. It's a really old building. We rent it, and it's like, from day one, we just have, now I think it's better now. At least I think it is. But
I hope it is. Pray it is. Everybody pray for Gabe's church.
We had someone bring in a bunch of food, like dry, good food and stuff. And one of the things was like a big bag, like 10-pound bag of lentils, dried lentils. And they put it on the shelf. And so like, everyone leaves and like the rats that are there, whatever, are like, dude, this is awesome, right? Thank you.
Buffet. Look at here.
So one Wednesday night, I walk into the men's restroom and one of the lights is not working. It's kind of like glitching a little bit. So I reach up and I kind of like tap the light fixture. And when I do, lentils rain down on me from above the light fixture. And I'm just thinking, like, we are, whatever like seeker friendly is, we're like the total opposite because we have lentils falling out of light fixtures that rats have carried lentils up. I'm just like, if you're here, you must really, really want to be here.
That's hilarious. That's funny.
Yeah.
Hey, as a pastor, when should we listen to feedback? And how should we take feedback that is more focused on personal preference than the overall good of the church?
Yeah. I think there's some people in the church that you should allow to give you feedback on, whether it's your teaching style or delivery method or whatever, and allow them to speak into your life and I think there's probably perceptive people you have in your church that are like, I think this is over everybody's head, or, hey, people are starving. They want more substance. And I think if they catch on to something like a trend like that and they bring it to your attention, I think I would stop and I would listen. Or if people just don't, you're a former educator and you know that you got to come with like read your room. They call it in education, formative assessments, where you give out a test to kind of assess where everybody is at with their knowledge.
Right.
But I think you as an educator, you think, okay, I need to kind of read the room and see where everybody's at with this. And you kind of have to adjust the pace or the content a little bit. But yeah, I think other than that, I think teaching style is going to change, whether from book to book, from theme to theme, topic to topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there are people that I would listen to if they said, "Hey, man, I think you're kind of over everybody's heads on this particular topic. I think you need to kind of dumb it down a little bit more."
I think pastors should always be approachable and humble.
Yeah.
To receive feedback, right? So I think pastors should listen, but I think what I hear you're saying is that not all feedback is equal.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely not.
In the sense that there's some that is truly like, hey, I'm concerned that we're not actually forming disciples through the way that you're teaching or through the way this ministry is going or through this other thing that's happening. And there is some feedback that's given, and it's literally just somebody's personal preference.
Mm-hmm.
That I think we should do this. Okay, why do you think we should do this? And then you find out it's not actually for any good biblical reason. It's just because that's what you want. That's your personal preference, right? It has nothing to do with. And I think pastors have to be discerning about which pieces of feedback or concerns are taken to heart and acted on, right? Because not all of them are going to be they're not all going to pack the same level of punch, right?
Yeah. Well, one of the pieces of feedback I've gotten in the past is like, hey, I wish you taught more on eschatology and end times. And I'm like, okay, yeah, it's noted, I'll keep that in mind. But what's the best way to prepare a congregation, a church, and believers for the end times? Is to teach discipleship, to teach like how you live your everyday faith, how you share the gospel, whether or not you share it. That's the best way to prepare someone for the end time. So I want to devote 90% of my teaching to that, and maybe 10% to like, now let's try to unravel these things and how they're going to play out. I just think that that's wise to do. But yeah, that's a piece of feedback that I've gotten that I think about. Okay, thank you for that. I'll pray about it. And it's not bad to present those ideas, present some theories about eschatology and end times, but let's not make that our focus,
Right. Yeah. So say somebody listening to this podcast has some concerns about their church.
Mm-hmm.
A, when should they say something and when should they let it go? B, who should they talk to about it? And then C, how should they say something if they feel like they need to keep saying something?
Wow. Yeah. I really think it would be good to have some, like, half a dozen things that you talk to your spouse about and say, hey, as we're looking for a new church or whatever, what are some things that these are like no brainers for us? What is the Latin phrase for it? Like non-starters it's a Latin phrase for it.
I can't speak Latin. It's a dead language.
But I think it's good to have those and talk about those and say, like, what are some things that if this were to ever, so like if Pastor so-and-so were to ever say, hey, I am now LGBTQ affirming, that's a line in the sand for us, right? And I think it's good to have those and to verbalize those with your spouse or with a really close, trusted friend. And then when you feel like someone's starting to cross some of those lines, I think there is a protocol. I think you need to, it could be like an email that you send. It could be a phone call. It could be like, hey, Pastor, could I meet you for lunch sometime? And then, and giving them the benefit of the doubt, first of all, and saying, hey, did I understand you right when you said this? Like, I just want to make sure I understand it. And I'm not taking it out of context or misunderstanding you. and then
Should they
kind of
always
going from
go to
there.
the Should they always go to the pastor first, or should they go up the tier of leadership first?
Yeah, I think if they've got like a small group leader, let's say, that might be a good place to start.
Yeah.
And say, hey, like I heard Pastor so and so say this this weekend at the service. Can you just like clarify that to me and make sure I understand it correct?
Sure. Yeah.
And kind of go from there. But yeah, I think it kind of climb that ladder of like hierarchy, and then eventually,
right.
Okay. So yeah, you are affirming that that active, unrepentant homosexuals will inherit the kingdom. That seems to be the line that I'm not willing to go across with you. So we're going to part ways here then. And I think articulating that into an email or a letter or a phone call would be ideal.
Yeah. So when should they just let it go?
Like when should they let disagreements go, or when?
Yeah. Like so what in our theoretical conversation, this person, it's the difference between a major theological problem, right?
Yeah.
The difference between what is the Bible's vision of human sexuality and what is this church teaching. It's like a massive problem, right?
Yeah.
But what if it's something far less serious?
Yeah.
In the minds of that person, it may be pretty serious. They may think, I have a pretty strong conviction about this, but my church teaches this. How do you know the difference between something that you should go to your leadership about and say, hey, this is a problem, and something you just go, you know what, I may not agree with this, but ultimately this is kind of a minor, I just need to let it go?
Yeah, I would have to ask, like, or ascertain somehow, how long is this pastor or these leaders, how long have they held this conviction? If it's something that's recent, if it's something that is like they seem to still be evolving in that would be problematic to me. But if it's something they've like I know there's a belief in like total annihilation. We did an episode about annihilationism where you don't, like, people
terminal
aren't spending
punishment.
People aren't spending an eternity in hell, they're being annihilated. So like if your pastor believed that, but he's believed that the past 15 years and he isn't making that, like, and you disagree with him on that, he isn't making that like the main focus of everything he teaches on and believes, I think I would say, okay, well, you believe that for 15 years, that's something worth considering there. But if you just came to that last month and now you're making it the focus of everything, that's different, I think.
Right. Yeah. Yeah,
Now I'm gonna get an email now from someone saying like, "How would you sit there and listen to annihilationism and all this stuff?"
Yeah. No, I think at the end of the day, there has to be a lot of prayer and a lot of like thought given to what are doctrinal majors, what are doctrinal minors. Okay, and then what are concerns related to doctrine and ecclesiology or integrity, right? Those are major concerns. And what are concerns connected to simply my preferences of either maybe the tribe that I came up through or the tribe that I'm, podcasting throughout the week. I'm going to a Baptist church, but I'm listening to all these sermons from guys who are Pentecostal. Or I'm going to a Pentecostal or non-denominational church, but I'm listening to sermons throughout the week that are from the highly reformed crowd. And maybe the church I'm attending is doing stuff a little bit different than that pastor I podcast, but just because it's different and they may view, ecclesiology different, they have a different governance structure than this other church that I've started listening to. That doesn't mean the church I'm in, even if I disagree with it, that's like a heaven or hell issue that I got to go and I got to, hold the leader's feet to the fire and say, unless you do it the way I see over here, you're not.
Yeah.
Right. I think somebody's got to think through in my mind, what are those categories? What buckets are doctrinal majors? What buckets are doctrinal minors? What things are matters of preference and what things are matters of truly important doctrinal distinctives? Did you agree on that?
Yeah, which I think was probably one of the main motivations and thrusts behind like developing the Apostles' Creed or even like the Nicene Creed. Some of these early Christian creeds is like, hey, let's define and then let's all repetitiously say out loud collectively these doctrinal majors.
Right.
And then anything outside of that seems to be something that you don't need to break fellowship over, but I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of Creed, just kidding.
Oh boy.
I'm not going to do another Creed impersonation. One per episode is enough. Another aspect of this, as we're landing the plane, is a highly unrealistic expectation of church leadership. So if you have this mindset, you're probably very critical.
Yeah.
You're critical of music, you're critical of programs, you're critical of sermon styles, you're critical of any decision that leadership makes that you would not have made yourself. And then there's also this mindset that says the pastor and the staff are the paid professionals. They do all the work in providing this quality experience for me as the spectator.
Yeah.
And I show up to view it. I show up to consume it. And if I like what I see, I might give. I might not, but if I like what I see, I might give. And then there's these unrealistic expectations on leaders to drop everything whenever I have a need, regardless of who else in the church might need ministry or might need help.
Yeah.
So you've seen this mindset before, I'm assuming.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
It's kind of like you're a public servant, so you have to answer every time I call.
Right.
Yeah.
Is this a broader societal problem, like this idea the customer's always right?
Yeah. That could be where it's stemming from, yeah.
Yeah. No shade on people named Karen, if that is your God-given Christian name. But the pejorative Karen has been invented the past few years to explain this type of person who's just constantly picking a bone with every restaurant they go to, every shop that they go to, every movie theater they go to. And I think that has slowly started to bleed into church too.
Yeah, totally.
That church leaders can never get it right. And if I have a complaint, you've got to listen to me because the customer's always right. And that's pretty unrealistic to expect that on leaders, that they're always going to have to drop everything and listen to whatever complaints you've got, because it may not be valid. It may just be selfish.
We have a worship leader, and he says, my job as a worship leader is to lead people in worship, but also to make everyone equally unhappy with me. It's so true. Because, nothing elicits opinions like live music does.
Yeah. Man. Well, we get it all the time. We get it from folks that don't think we do enough new songs or enough modern songs. We get it from people that don't think we know enough hymns. We get it from people that think we could crank our music up louder and it could be more like a rock band, and then people that think our music is too loud.
Yeah.
So you're right. You can't please everybody.
Equally unhappy.
Yeah. So landing the plane, ultimately, we're talking about the difference between being self-focused versus kingdom-focused. The difference between self-fulfillment over self-sacrifice. It's the difference between saying, I didn't get anything out of that when I'm unhappy, versus I'm so glad I was able to give something to that. And so I think what we're seeing in America is an idolatry of comfort, convenience, and self-focus instead of lives that follow Jesus in obedience and surrender. And I think that's the downstream issue, and the consumer Christianity is just a symptom of a deeper sickness. And that is, we don't understand the good life is the life that follows Jesus in obedience and surrender and pours out our life to serve him and to serve other people.
Yeah. I think it's a cyclical thing too, and where sometimes both parties can be guilty, where the pastor thinks, well, it's all about my legacy, the amount of giving that we're getting in so we can build a better building and all this stuff. And it's about my legacy and my kingdom. And then in that process, we compromise, or we allow other people to compromise, and we don't want to speak hard truths to people because we're scared of losing them or whatever. And I think both parties are to blame. And I'm saying that as a way to say, like, hey, we all need to repent of that tendency.
Sure. Yeah. So kind of last thing before we sign off, like, if somebody listening to this and going, man, that's where I'm at. Geez, I'm a very consumeristic, self-focused person. I view Christian community as being about my needs. And I'm willing to push away from the table and go somewhere as long as I get my preferences met. How does someone start to kind of right the ship? How do they start to make that shift and change their heart and change their mind?
Man, I honestly, you mentioned it being an idolatry of comfort. I think if you look at the story of the Bible, anytime people of Israel have an issue with idolatry, and it's like really lodged in there, and they can't really get fully remove themselves and detach themselves from this issue of idolatry. It almost takes like God doing something to shatter that idol in their life, and to show to them, hey, this is an idol. This is lifeless. This is pointless. This is not me. And I wonder if American Christianity needs that. I don't wonder. I know that it needs that.
Sure.
That shaking of idols, and that wake up call, and then that subsequent refinement of the body of Messiah in the United States. And that's not going to be comfortable, but I think that may be in our future if we really want true revival.
Yeah. It's interesting to think what form that might take, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Might it take us not being able to be picky about the kind of churches we go to because there's not that many churches that are still open?
Yeah. And so it could be, governmental imposed. Yeah. Economically imposed.
There's only a few faithful Christians in one town, right? And you're like, oh man, I don't like how they do music. Well, who cares, man? They're following and serving Jesus faithfully. So you may not like how they do music, but man, like, what are your other options, right? And then maybe that's what God does to kind of cure us from our idolatry of self when it comes to how we view the body of Christ. I don't know. Interesting to think through that. I hope we can repent on our own before God has to do something like that to shake us up. But good stuff. What the rest of your day look like?
We are building a Habitat for Humanity house. So I'm actually about to run over there and help frame up an opening for an attic stairs that we didn't have in the drawings and the framer didn't do.
Look at you, guy from Extreme Home Makeover.
Yeah. It's a cool little house. It's only like 800 square feet, 900 square feet. Little tiny thing.
Oh, wow. That's cool.
Yeah. But we're going to give it to a family.
That's awesome.
Yeah. What about you?
Well,
what do you got going on?
Man, just work. I think I got a couple more meetings this afternoon. So this is my lunch break now. And then I got meetings and other projects working on, and just always busy. I was on the phone literally all morning, phone call after phone call after phone call, and then I had 3 different meetings. So it's been crazy.
Well, thanks for spending your lunch break with me. Sorry for my technical difficulties with the microphone.
No, we'll just take it out of your royalty check for this week. So
yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for listening. Yeah. Fat check.
That fat royalty check. If if you have any questions or concerns or thoughts related to this, send us an email, beersandbiblepodcast@gmail.com, or leave us a comment on YouTube or Facebook. We will see you guys next time.